Welcome to the third round of Ferrari Challenge Japan. Welcome to our third premier destination of Japanese motorsport of the season. This is Sportsland Sugo, a venue steeped in sports car racing history, in single-seater racing history and motorcycle racing history. A venue that has been a must-see on the Japanese motorsport calendar now for almost 50 years. It is a picturesque surrounding here in Sugo. Wonderful weather this weekend as well. A little bit humid out there. Track temps well up, as you can see. And a crisp 21 degrees for our spectators here this weekend. The Ferrari Challenge Japan joining a very busy weekend of GT racing action along with the SRO's Japan Cup. The Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli and Copa Shell drivers are down there at the moment. And you might not be surprised as to our pole sitter. It's Yudai Uchida, the number one, the defending champ, that sits there on pole position. He was the only driver in qualifying to break the 1 minute 24 barrier. He did so with a 1 minute 23.557. And so our number one driver starts from pole once again. However, the Ferrari Japan entry, the guest car, has once again thrown up an exciting new challenger. This is Anna Inotsume in her Ferrari 488 Challenge Evo machine. She is the reigning TCR Japan champion, the first of our guest drivers to have really done a bulk of her racing career with a roof over her head. The first ever TCR champion to be a female globally. And Inotsume this year racing largely in Formula Regional machinery, making that shift over to single-seaters. She lines up on the front row of the grid. You see there that already the personnel are peeling away from the starting formation. In just a few moments, they will be rolling on their formation lap. As always in Ferrari Challenge Japan, the race is half an hour plus one lap. This will be a driver to watch in this race. From row 2 of the grid, our Copa Shell pole sitter, Phil Kim. Phil Kim, after not scoring at the season opening weekend in Suzuka, had a very strong run of things in Fuji, and is now looking to try and capitalise on being the Copa Shell pole sitter. The next Copa Shell runner in the grid is Yasutaka Shirasaki, and he's 10th overall. Phil Kim is 4th overall, so that tells you all you need to know. A very, very strong starting position for him. Unfortunately, one driver we didn't see do flying laps in qualifying was Nobuhiro Imada. He had a non-score in Fuji as well. Imada was expected to be the primary championship challenger this season to Yudai Uchida. Uchida, though, the points leader, quite comfortably the points leader as well now. And with the number 4 car not setting a lap in qualifying, Uchida's chances of securing a second consecutive Ferrari Challenge Japan championship are going up. But there's still a long way to go. Of course, Uchida, a 3-time champion in Ferrari Challenge in the Asian region. This is just the second season of Ferrari Challenge Japan, and he is the champion of the inaugural season last year. On row 3 of the grid, 6th position is Yusaku Maezawa. We just got a look at his car, the white and red striped machine, the 177 car, the Cornesh Shiba entry. Maezawa, the very well-known businessman, art collector, etc., 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 is in his second weekend of racing. He took 2 podiums on his first ever attempt at competitive racing in Fuji last month, and that second race was a winning race in Copa Shell Am. He sits 6th on the grid. His closest Shell Am competition, 8th on the grid, is Ryotaro Saito. So that's going to be an interesting battle between the two of them. Uchida And Inotsume, though, it will be at the front of the order. Those are the first two cars you see on the grid. In third position there is the first of the Trofeo Pirelli AM runners. That is Akita, looking to get another overall podium on his tally for the season after his enthusiastic displays at Suzuka. Uchida and Inotsume then front row of this 12-row grid. Then it's Akita alongside Phil Kim, the Pirelli AM and Copa Shell pole sitters respectively. Cold Max is next alongside Yusaku Maezawa. Row 4 of the grid is composed of Motohiko Isozaki and Ryotaro Saito. Row 5 of the grid, the number 51 car, that's Kanji Yagura alongside Yasutaka Shirasaki. Second of the Copa Shell runners, he's going to need to do some overtaking to move up that order. Kazutaka Miura and Ryuichi Kinehiro are next on row 6 of the grid. Shimoyama and Yaneda on row 7. Row 8 is composed of the 129 car, Masafumi Hiwatashi. He's alongside Baby K in the number 193. That's the first appearance of the 193 car this season. Koji Ayama is next alongside Ryotaro Umuri. Row 10 of the grid, Kawasaki and Shibata rounding out the top 20. Still a couple of rows to go though. Yamaguchi and John Leo on row 11. And Takashi Kurakawa 23rd and last. We were expecting 24, but no Nobuhiro Imada by the looks of it. So it's Yudai Uchida who will lead a full field of Ferrari 488 Challenge Evos down to turn 1. Some 192 cylinders across these engines. Mighty field of machines, these Ferrari 488 Challenge Evo cars, in what is more than likely going to be their final season of competition in the National Series, the Ferrari Challenge Japan and Ferrari Challenge UK. Seriously impressive pieces of kit. 670 brake horsepower available under each driver's foot, and that will be quickly deployed on what is a fairly short run down to turn 1. Some stacking up though around the final bend as we get ready to go racing under the famous bridge over the crest of the hill. And it will be time to go racing for the first time this weekend in Ferrari Challenge Japan at Sportland Sugo. Will it be Yudai Uchida, or will it be the newcomer Anna Inotsume that gets the first run down to turn 1? Certainly a long way ahead as the lights go out is Yudai Uchida. He should lead it into the first corner, and he does so. Akita looking to the inside around turn 1, but he remains in third place. Inotsume then in second position behind the defending champion Yudai Uchida. Fourth place is still Phil Kim. Maezawa's lost some ground in the early stages of the race. Saw him diving to the inside there. He's down in 8th place, and I think critically he's fallen behind Ryotaro Saito in the first few corners of the race as well. So Maezawa, I believe, may have lost his Copa Shell Am lead there as everybody picks their way through the first few corners of the lap. Some side-by-side action further back in the field. They go through the wonderfully named Rainbow Corner for the first time in this half-hour plus 1 lap race, and then it's the long run down to the back straight stretch. They can pull some serious speed on the run down to the horseback corner here. Looking to the inside there, one of the cars further back. I think that might have been the 124 of Yaneda. I'm not quite sure though. Everybody's still finding their way, finding their footing in the early stages. There's the 117 car of Kawasaki we just saw in shot, the distinctive green and yellow machine. But it will be Yudai Uchida that leads the field across the line for the first time. Got a good start from pole position. Has led the early stages. Maezawa, though, under a lot of pressure in his Copa Shell Am entered machine. Saito actually lost quite a few places, as it turns out, early in the race. There goes the 109 car of Shirasaki diving to the inside there of Maezawa. That was Shirasaki making a move there for 8th overall. But Maezawa still leads in Copa Shell Am. I thought Saito had got past him in the first few corners of the lap, but actually that's not the case. Saito lost some 5 positions in the first lap of the race. So the 127 car has really tumbled down the order unceremoniously there. And that leaves Maezawa still in the lead of Copa Shell-Am for the time being, and still within the top 10 as well. But he has lost 3 positions. He might not be happy with that. He's got a long time, though, to try and regain those places. They're stacking up there on the fringes of the top 10. Big, long queue of machinery. No such issues, though, for Yudai Uchida, who's already built a good... That must be about 2 seconds worth of gap. It was just over 1 second first time across the line through the long 110R in the final corner here. One of very few alterations to the circuit in the last 30 or so years is the tarmac runoff there on the outside of the final turn. They also reconfigured the pit exit a couple of years ago. Akita keeping pace with Inotsume in the early stages of the race. So Akita running 3rd overall, critically leading Trofeo Pirelli Am as well. But keeping pace with Inotsume, which is a great sign. Inotsume, a very fast competitor, has plenty of years of racing experience under her belt at this stage. The 29-year-old competitor was runner-up in the 2022 TCR Japan season and won better in 2023. Phil Kim in 4th position then and leading in Copa Shell. His next best competition in Copa Shell is Shirasaki, who we saw make that move a little while ago on Yusaku Maezawa. There is Shirasaki. And there's Maezawa leading in Copa Shell-Am. A lot of cars behind him, not all of whom are challenging him for Class Honours. In fact, the next car challenging him for Class Honours is 4th in the queue behind the red and white 177 of Maezawa. Maezawa, with such a diverse portfolio of interests and business pursuits, hobbies, and car collecting has long been one of them. Motorsport and the chase for adrenaline and speed has always been there in Maezawa. Racing feels like a natural progression for him, and he is racing hard at the moment because here comes Kenko Miura. Miura in the slipstream there. Across the line we go, and is that Miura looking to the inside? Certainly it is. Will he get it stopped? Oh, contact between them, and that's bad news for Maezawa. He's facing the wrong way. That's going to hand the lead in class to his competition. I think that's Kunihiro as well, who has spun off the rear of Maezawa's car. Oh, and Maezawa spins again. Is that a tyre that's gone down potentially in the midst of the contact? He's in the gravel. It's going to be difficult to get that car moved from there. Shimoyama it was that ended up in a spin as well. In the 152 car, he was running strongly within Copa Shell, but is now facing the wrong way and doesn't look like he's going to continue. We get a replay now. It was a speculative look to the inside from Miura. Wasn't sure he was going to pull the pin, but was late on the brakes into the first corner. They met in the middle, and the net result, unfortunately, was Maezawa being turned around and then subsequently Shimoyama also getting tagged into a spin, and the safety car is out. While Maezawa did manage to move out of the gravel trap, he must have quite a deft right foot getting out of the gravel. But unfortunately, he's come to a halt there on the tarmac runoff, so his race has come to an end early as well. Safety car out then for the first time this weekend, and if I think back through the 4 races we've had prior to this weekend, I believe this is the first safety car we've had all season. In fact, we did have a red flag in Fuji, but we've had very minimal interruptions so far this season. This is almost something of a novelty, and what it's going to do is bring Yudai Uchida's competition right back onto his rear bumper. Let's run you through then the top 10 at this stage of the race. It is Yudai Uchida that leads the race. Inotsume in 2nd position. Akita, the first of the Pirelli Am runners, in 3rd overall. Then it is Phil Kim, the South Korean racer, in 4th place ahead of the 2nd place runner within Pirelli Am. That is Cold Max. Incidentally, Kim is leading in Copa Shell. Motiko Isozaki running 3rd in Pirelli Am. He is 6th overall. 2nd place in Copa Shell is Shirasaki in the 109 car. He sits 7th overall at this stage. Kenko Miura in 8th position, the 104 car. In fact, I should correct myself there because it is not Kenko Miura. It is Kazutaka Miura at the wheel of that car. He runs in 8th position, and to round out the top 10, it is the new Copa Shell Am leader by dint of all of that drama down at the first corner. It is now Saito in the 127 car that leads. So Ryotaro Saito, who qualified 8th, dropped some positions early on, as you may recall. Was down as far as 13th, but is now back up in 9th. And most critically, is leading in Copa Shell Am. He's just ahead of his closest combatant, though, in Copa Shell Am. That is the driver of the 129 car. That is Masafumi Hiwatashi. So all 4 classes are represented within that overall top 10. But some big shifts, some big changes there with that contact. Maezawa was looking to have his first perhaps clean sweep weekend, having taken his first victory in Fuji. Maybe he'd have liked to try and get a pole and 2 wins this time around, but that's not going to be on the cards now with this non-score. Looking to establish himself, I'm sure, in the championship. Getting a look then at some replays of the race so far. This was how the race began. Fairly uneventful for Yudai Uchida. He led into the first corner. Maezawa lost a couple of places to some of the Pirelli Am and Copa Shell runners around him. We now return to live pictures. We can see the Sportsland Sugo safety crew working hard. This race will be back underway in short order, I'm sure. You can see here, these pictures, a good chance to take in the character of the Sportland Sugo circuit, and the circuit is very compact. It's 2.3 miles there or thereabouts, squeezed into quite a small patch of land. And a fairly narrow racing surface as well, but does deliver great racing consistently in whatever category you throw at it, including Ferrari Challenge Japan. Uchida was successful here last year. Frankly, he was successful everywhere last year. Uchida, arguably the best driver in the Asian region in Ferrari Challenge machinery. We'll see, of course, whether that transfers over into the 296 era that has already begun on the continents of North America and Europe in the 2 Continental Series, the 2 National Series, Ferrari Challenge UK and Japan respectively, still solely relying on the 488 for this season. A lot of the drivers that have competed already in the 296 very excited about the prospects of getting to grips with that car more and more over the course of its lifespan. The 488, though, especially in this Challenge Evo specification, is a fabulous race car, very accessible race car. Certainly takes a deft touch and a good amount of experience to master the car and find the best pace out of it, but it is remarkably user-friendly. I understand that with the successes of the Ferrari Challenge Japan, which is only in its second season and has attracted grids well in excess of 20 entries all throughout the season so far, attracted record grids in both Suzuka and Fuji to start the season. I understand that the national level Ferrari Challenge concept is set to continue, grow and expand in years to come. That's Maezawa, I think, just having a look perhaps at some of the footage of the incident. I don't know that he will be judged to be at fault for that one. Safety car boards are still out there on the circuit. We are yet to have an in this lap bulletin, I think. Though I think that might have just changed. I think we might be on for racing again this time by, but let's wait and see. The traditional method, watching that light bar on top of the Ferrari 296 that leads the cars around the circuit. It's Rosso Scuderia's Yuda Uchida in the first of the racing cars. Rosso Scuderia, the leader of the Copa Dealer class at the moment. That's effectively the team's championship. All of our entries in this series, aside from the guest car from Ferrari Japan, are entered by a dealership. They are run under the umbrella of a dealership. And Rosso Scuderia's Yuda Uchida has brought some great results for them so far. They also have Yasutaka Shirasaki on the grid as well. Of course, there's a lot of representation from Ferrari's largest partner within the Japanese region. That is the Cornez family of dealerships there. Nagoya, Osaka, Shiba dealerships all represented on this grid. Also M Auto Italia, Mid Sapporo, Nicole Competizione, Auto Cavallino, European version and Ideal, as well as Gran Testa Nagano. All Ferrari dealerships, Ferrari partners that run in this series with their clients. It's always exciting to see a new batch of drivers come in each season. Traditionally, a new coming driver will be in the Copa Shell AM category. Some of them do, however, get bumped up into Copa Shell, which is the next step up. If you're judged to be particularly fast, you might even end up in Trofeo Pirelli AM or the top class, that is Trofeo Pirelli. But all four classes are hotly contested. It's always great to talk to some of these drivers on their first weekends. You can really sense the excitement. For many of these drivers, this will have been the dream in childhood. Not just to go racing, but to go racing in a Ferrari. That is about as boyhood dream as it gets. And I know that Maezawa documented extensely his first experience in Ferrari Challenge Japan post-Fuji. It was in Japanese language, but it is a really good insight into his experiences of the first weekend of racing action for him. Everyone trying to get heat through the rubber, with the anticipation that perhaps we may go racing this time by. We've got 13 minutes and 50 seconds plus 1 lap remaining. So when the clock hits 0, that will officially confirm the penultimate lap of the race. We'll then cross the line once more to begin our final lap of racing action. You saw there the Ideal entry of Yamato Yamaguchi. I believe that's his first appearance this year, the green and white car. We saw him third from back in the queue as we get another look here at the dramatic high of the race so far. Battle for 8th position. And it all came to a head there. Contact that is under investigation. There's Akita. Could he perhaps try and leap forward now. It looks like we are gearing up here for a restart, doesn't it? Uchida has backed them up. Uchida has pulled the pin. We have 12 minutes and 50 seconds left on the clock as they cross under the bridge and we return to racing action. It's Yudai Uchida who breaks the stripe first, of course, as we come back into green flag racing. Inotsume retains second place from Akita in third position, your leader in the Trofeo Pirelli AM class. Fourth position is still Phil Kim, still with some cushioning behind him compared to his other Copa Shell competitors. However, he may sense the opportunity for an overall podium, particularly if Akita starts to challenge Inotsume, and it looks like he's doing just that, looking to the inside there at the high point corner. Akita, though, almost swapping ends, catching a nice slide there. You can see him there getting quite aggressive on the throttle, but controlling it well. So it is Uchida from Inotsume from our Pirelli AM leader Akita. And then Copa Shell leader Phil Kim in fourth position. Cold Max runs fifth, and Isosaki rounding out the top half dozen as they go through SP in and then SP out. A bit wide there at the apex from Akita. We've got some shuffling going on further back as well by the looks of it. Is that Kanji Yagura making up places? I think it is. Yagura was all the way down in 21st as the race restarted. So I think Yagura has had some dramas out there. In fact, yes, he made a pit stop. So Kanji Yagura made a pit stop, I think, while under safety car. And he's now back on the circuit. However, he is a good couple of laps down. So Kanji Yagura, we didn't notice this at the time, but Yagura, who runs second in the Trofeo Pirelli AM Championship, has had a drama, and he may well end up non-scoring, or at the very least not registering as strong of a score as we'd have expected within Trofeo Pirelli. He's still fourth in class, so he shouldn't actually get too bad of a score, but he will lose ground to Akita, who leads in Trofeo Pirelli AM, who currently leads in the class within this race. There's Cold Max just ahead of Isosaki. Cold Max in the number 15 car. Number 16 car, I should say. In fact, no, he is the 15. First thought, best thought. There is Isosaki, though. Once again, competing cross-continent in Ferrari Challenge machinery, both in Europe and in Japan. Has probably done more races in a Ferrari this year than just about anybody on the globe, and I am including Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc in that tally. Over the crest of the hill come some of the cars a little further back. A look to the inside there. I think that's may well be the 193 car of Baby K, is it? A little bit further back in the field. In fact, no, that's Kunihiro in the 192 rather than the 193. He's just chasing Ayama at the moment, who has plenty of experience racing Ferraris. Koji Ayama, back in the Super GT Championship in the late 2000s, was racing in a Ferrari. There's quite a collection of road-going supercars as well. It is a common denominator, of course, across this grid, the passion for the prancing horse is evident in road and track activities. Here's Yagura once again making up some on-track ground, but he's a couple of laps down, so this is all immaterial in terms of track position. We're seeing that Yagura is at full chat. Unfortunately, he is a long way down the order in the number 51 car. Move to the inside there. That's through the first couple of corners. I believe that's Yaneda having a look there. That's the 129 car. 127, sorry. No, 129 of Hiwatashi. First thought, best thought once again. Yaneda, that was challenging Saito for 9th and 10th positions further back in the field. So that's another one of the class crossing battles, if you will. Those two drivers running in Copa Shell and Copa Shell Am respectively. And you often see that in these races. The confines of class only do so much to prevent them from all racing each other, of course. Overall position is often just as sought after, if not more, than the class positions, especially if you're already leading your class, like someone like Phil Kim, for instance, who's a little way up the road from Shirasaki, who is second in Copa Shell. If he gets half an opportunity at an overall podium before the end of the race from his current 4th position, rest assured he's going to take it. Akita has an overall podium to his name already this year. A couple of overall podiums to his name already this year. Got to stand on the podium at Suzuka on Japanese Grand Prix weekend in our first event of the 2024 Ferrari Challenge Japan season, and he was delighted with that. Phil Kim still there in 4th place, and Shirasaki looking fairly racy here behind Motohiko Isozaki in the battle for 6th position overall. So Yasutaka Shirasaki, who started in 10th place, now running in 7th, second in the Copa Shell class. He's got 2 Trofeo Pirelli Am runners between himself and his class leader Phil Kim. Cold Max be looking to nail every apex here, not give Motohiko Isozaki a chance in that battle for 5th position as well. Isozaki, vastly experienced. He did take a little bit of a sabbatical from racing at one time, but if you look back to the 2000s, he was competing in All Japan Formula 3, these days known as Super Formula Lights. He's raced at Macau in single-seaters as well, has done just about everything there is to do in racing. But in conversation with him, he let slip, now that I'm a Ferrari driver, I don't think he'll ever be anything else. He loves racing his Ferrari. Yaneda in the 124 car. The blue and black machine, or green and black machine, depending on your interpretation. I think it's more on the side of blue. See him getting quite squirrely there. I would say in the wheel tracks of Saito in the 127, but that's not quite true, is it? He's showing the nose and stating his intent to try and get past before the end of this race, and really pushing the car to do it. Masaru Yaneda was second in the Copa Shell Am category in 2023. Now runs in Copa Shell, so got bumped up during the winter. Saito, meanwhile, is currently second in Copa Shell Am coming into this weekend, but just 6 points behind Hiwatashi, who's currently behind him within Copa Shell Am. And of course, it is Saito that leads in Copa Shell Am, so he's currently due a full score of 15 points, which will be helpful for him. He'll cut his points deficit in half. Isozaki definitely under some pressure from Shirasaki. Again, not for class position, but it is for overall position. This is for 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th. They all run together on the circuit. There's the 109 car of Shirasaki. Shirasaki had a really solid start to the year. 3 wins already to his name this season in Copa-Shell, the only driver that has beaten him to a Copa-Shell win so far. Well, that'll be Phil Kim, and it's currently Kim on course to do the same again. We focus in there on Coldmax and Isosaki on the graphics, looking at the Trofeo Pirelli AM order, which is being very comfortably won currently by Akita, who sits third overall. Isosaki, I think, is doing less pressuring of Coldmax and being pressured more so by Shirasaki in 7th. Yuda Uchida, though, if he is feeling pressure, it's certainly not evident in the body language of the car. Uchida is such a smooth driver. Even when he is in the midst of battle, he always looks controlled and smooth. The seesawing of the wheel is just not something you see out of Yuda Uchida. At least not unless he's really in battle. Of course, we saw him having great scraps with the likes of Furatani at the start of the year. He was one of the many very talented guest drivers we've already had this year in the Ferrari Japan entered number 2 car. It was Yuga Furatani who raced it in Suzuka, Yugo Iwasawa who raced it in Fuji, now being driven, of course, by Anna Inotsume, who's currently on her way to a comfortable 2nd overall. Phil Kim still 4th overall and leading in Copa-Shell. His Copa-Shell contemporary Shirasaki there was quite wide at horseback. 1 minute and 15 seconds left on the clock, so they will be starting the penultimate lap of the race this time by my count. In fact, they may get 3 more laps out of this. It's going to depend on when Yuda Uchida breaks the timing beam. Uchida's already some 17 seconds ahead of this pack that we were following. There's Saito, your leader in Copa-Shell AM at this stage. 9th overall as he goes over the crest of the hill once again. Saito is yet to finish off the podium this season within Copa-Shell AM. He took a win in the class at Suzuka, and he's currently on course to do it for a 2nd time this season. Not bad, considering this is only our 5th race of 2024. And if you can keep netting those podiums, keep netting those strong results, you will win championships. Just ask this man, Yuda Uchida, who has done so many a time. Race control saying final lap. We are supposed to get 1 more lap of racing once the clock hits 0. Let's see whether the checkered flag does wave this time, just in case they've decided to put the flag out early. Uchida up and over the hill. He's flashing the headlights. I didn't see a checkered flag though. So I think we may well still be racing because we do get +1 lap. We are indeed still racing. So Yuda Uchida begins his final tour of Sportsland Sugo for the Saturday. And look at this, Isosaki under threat. There goes Shirasaki to the inside line. Shirasaki takes 6th overall. And Phil Kim is now just ahead of him because Coldmax has gotten past Phil Kim. So Coldmax is up to 4th overall, as well as being 2nd in Pirelli AM, and we now have a battle for Copa-Shell in 5th and 6th place. The 199 car with the plain black front end. That's Phil Kim. He's leading in Copa-Shell, but will he be leading by the end of the lap? Because Shirasaki is now right there on his rear bumper, under his rear wing, as they go down the back stretch towards horseback for the final time. Coldmax is going to win. Comes 2nd, in Trofeo Pirelli AM behind Akita. The question mark really is what's going to happen with the battle for 5th overall. Yuda Uchida, though, has had a brilliant race. Once again, controlling the field, showing his class and taking a win. For the 3rd time this season, it's Yuda Uchida that crosses the line first. Inotsume takes 2nd. Akita will cross the line in 3rd. Then it will be Coldmax over the crest of the hill in 4th place. There's one of our back markers crossing the line further back. I believe that was Kurakawa. Cold Max crosses the line in 4th place, and it will be Phil Kim that holds on to the Copa Shell victory. Despite the best efforts there on the final lap of Shirasaki, he got the move done on Isosaki. Maybe if he'd done it a lap earlier, he could have challenged Phil Kim before the end of the race. It's a win as well in Copa Shell Am for Saito in at the 127 car, the black and red machine that we saw staving off Hiwatashi. He eventually had about 2 seconds between himself and his closest Copa Shell competitor by the end of the race. Good running all round though. One incident bringing out a safety car, but otherwise good, clean, fun and exciting racing from our Ferrari Challenge Japan runners. And it's Yudai Uchida, even with that pause mid-race, he built his gap back out to 6 seconds before the end. His best lap of the race, a 1:24.951, the only driver to get into the 1:24s on race pace. Uchida really is the benchmark in Ferrari Challenge Japan. Ferrari Japan deploying guest drivers, this young talent initiative to give drivers an opportunity in the Ferrari 488 Challenge Evo. That's why we have Inotsume at the wheel of the number 2 car this weekend. But even those young, hungry pros have their work cut out chasing down Yudai Uchida. Very, very talented individual at the wheel of a Ferrari. They couldn't have asked for better weather today, I must say. Glorious conditions at Sportland Sugo. Good amount of track temp for them to work into those Pirelli tyres. We've got some great overtaking there right at the end as well. The drivers know when it's crunch time, and we certainly saw that out of Shirasaki at the end with his dive. It was Yudai Uchida, though, that won the race from Anna Inotsume. Akita finishing 3rd and winning in Pirelli. And Cold Max 4th. Phil Kim winning Copa Shell in 5th, just ahead of Yasutaka Shirasaki. Motohiko Isosaki in 7th place ahead of Kazutaka Miura. Ryuto Saito winning in Copa Shell Am and taking 9th overall ahead of Hiwatashi. Kunihiro, Yaneda, Ayama, Kei, Kawasaki, Shibata, Yamaguchi, Umuri, Leo, Kurakawa and Yagura all reaching the flag as well. But the race win is once again the man in the silver bullet, Yudai Uchida. He held up 2 single fingers there. Do we think he's going to have 2 wins before the end of this weekend? You certainly wouldn't bet against it in terms of his pace. He has been very impressive so far. Didn't manage to claim a win at Suzuka the season opening weekend. Furatani giving him a lot of excellent fighting, particularly in race 2 of that opening weekend, but he came out swinging in Fuji and has continued that form in Sugo. Being greeted there by Inotsume. I'm sure she will be happy with her first experience of the Ferrari 488 Challenge Evo. And Akita always loves to be on the overall podium, so I'm sure he's in good spirits as well. He will be winning the Trofeo Pirelli Am full haul of points, which is worth 15 points. That will further extend his championship advantage over Kanji Yagura in Trofeo Pirelli Am. In fact, Yagura will be under some more pressure now from Cold Max, who of course came 2nd in Trofeo Pirelli. Uchida lapping in the celebrations once again. You see a very full car park situation there. There's Motohiko Isozaki passing on his congratulations to Phil Kim, who won in Copa Shell. Phil Kim really starting to wind up those taps, isn't he? He's been brought into the series, the South Korean racer, by Jay Park. Himself a very familiar name in the Ferrari Challenge paddock. And that's his first win of the season, in fact. It was 2 second places at Fuji, 2 non-finishes at Suzuka. So a win for Phil Kim. That will mean a lot to him as we get a look back at the start of the race. Uchida leading from lap 1, turn 1. Some moving and shaking further back in the order as Maezawa lost a couple of positions but retained the early Copa Shell Am lead, partly because Ryotaro Saito fell through the order. However, there would be contact. Maezawa being put into a bit of a spin there, and that would also, unfortunately, spell the end of the race for Shimoyama in the 152 car, who didn't quite manage to avoid the spinning 177. Safety car was out, but very quickly we went back to racing, and Akita running third and leading in Trofeo Pirelli Am in the early stages of the return to green flag, trying to find his way past Inotsume, but third was the best he could do. Kanji Yagura, having made a trip to the pits during the race, was making up some track position again, but unfortunately a good couple of laps that he'd shed in the pit lane. Meanwhile, a late bid for honours for Shirasaki. He dove to the inside for 6th overall, getting past Motohiko Isozaki. Phil Kim in Copa Shell, though, was just a step too far for Shirasaki on this occasion, and no one could step to Yudai Uchida. Uchida took the race win in his signature commanding style, yet again continuing to build his trophy cabinet. I believe if you add up all of the Ferrari Challenge Japan races across this season and the inaugural season in 2023, the average hit rate for Yudai Uchida must be something in the region of 90%, because if I remember rightly, he had just one non-victory in 2023, and that was a 2nd place. And while he did miss out on wins in both races at Suzuka, that still means that in the history of Ferrari Challenge Japan, he's only ever not been on the top step on 3 occasions. It will be Uchida who stands strong on the overall podium. Drivers being hurried up there, I'm sure, to the podiums. And the teams are waiting to welcome their drivers onto those podiums and congratulate them for their hard-fought efforts. Some of the other team members busying themselves with moving the cars back to their shelters. Huge number of vastly experienced race engineers in the paddock on a Ferrari Challenge Japan weekend. All of these cars exceptionally well maintained. By Ferrari support crews, many of whom will have been running this Ferrari 488 Challenge Evo across continents for many years. A healthy data pool to learn from, I'm sure. Uchida, of course, will extend his championship lead ever more, especially with Nobuhiro Imada not racing. Uchida's chances of winning in Ferrari Challenge Japan Trofeo Pirelli are only ascending at this stage. However, for race 2 here at Sportland Sugo, there certainly is the big question of whether Inotsume could potentially challenge, as she gets more and more in tune with the Ferrari 488 Challenge Evo. And of course, there's always the factor of Akita as well. We saw it during that race. He's a very brave driver. He really pushes the envelope in that car, does Akita, the number 16. Currently leads in Trofeo Pirelli Am as well by just, or was leading Trofeo Pirelli Am by just 5 points, but of course that will have grown with his result in this race. Constantly improved in 2023, which was just his second season of racing Ferraris. And is once again looking more and more like he could be soon challenging for overall wins in 2024. By the end of the year, I wouldn't mind betting that we see something of a scrap between him and Yudai Uchida at some point. He does look quicker and quicker. We are intending to show you some podiums, but we are yet to see drivers up there. Hopefully we will get a look at them in the midst of their celebrations before long. Of course, it will be the Trofeo Pirelli podium that comes up first, which will be comprised of our driver of the number 2, Anna Inotsume, and Yudai Uchida.
カーナンバー2、フェラーリジャパン、Inotsume Anna 選手です。どうぞお越しください。
Inotsume, as I alluded to earlier on, has been racing Formula Regional cars this year, racing single-seaters. Plenty of experience in GTs and touring cars. A championship-winning driver, of course, in touring car machinery. But here's a championship-winning driver in a Ferrari Challenge Japan, Yudai Uchida, taking the top step in Trofeo Pirelli for Ferrari Challenge Japan. There's Anna Inotsume taking the second place trophy. And another P1 for Yudai Uchida. Was 8 wins in 9 races in Ferrari Challenge Japan 2023. Currently it's 3 from 5 in Ferrari Challenge Japan 2024. A comfortable championship lead to go with it for the Rosso Scuderia driver. His first race in Ferrari Challenge Japan was as far back as 2019. He was immediately a race winner, though, in the Asia Pacific Series.
ありがとうございます。続きましてシャンパンファイトです。
I knew there was something missing from the picture. A little bit of champagne, perhaps. He borrowed that one from Lando Norris, I believe. Yuda Yoshida giving a spray of the champagne. Celebrating yet another race win in Ferrari Challenge Japan. Race win number 11 in the history of the series. A series we'll see again tomorrow here at Sugo.